How to maximize your recovery between intervals with me, Emma Marinin. I'm a professional mountain biker and a mountain biking coach. All right, in one of my recent vlogs, I talked about some of my recovery strategies between intervals, or I guess I alluded to them. I didn't say really what I did. I just said that I was on these minute-long recoveries and I wasn't getting to do my recovery strategies. And a lot of people ask me, what you do strategies during that recovery? And yes, I do a lot to try to get myself to recover. And that is work that I do, and I'm in the winter doing intervals on the bike, but it translates between when I'm doing hard efforts during races and even just outside. You know, on race courses, there's always natural opportunities where you can recover when the pace kind of kicks down, whether that's after you've crested over the top of a climb, on a descent, or maybe you're just in a pack of riders and the pace just miraculously slows down for a little bit, or you've got a perfect draft spot. So I'm going to share my tricks for maximizing recovery in the least amount of time when I get it. Specifically what I do between intervals, but again, also tricks that I use on the race course. Step 1, find the right zone, get in a recovery cadence. As soon as you're done with your interval, you're going to want to drop into the right zone that's prescribed for you for recovery. You get no bonus points for being above this zone in your recovery. Stick to the recovery zone. Generally, it's okay if you even have to go below your recovery zone. It's just important that you recover to do the next interval in this time. The next thing is you are best off spinning at a cadence that's somewhere in the mid 80 RPMs. If it's much higher than the 80s, you're really working that aerobic engine, and so you're not going to recover as well. And much below the 80s, and you're, no matter how easy you're pedaling, you're still using a lot of anaerobic metabolism, and that's just not going to help you with your next interval. So maximize your recovery by being in zone and choosing a cadence somewhere around 85. Step 2, use all of your lung volume and try some nose inhales. So when you're doing intervals, you have a tendency to be focusing hard, working really hard, and we've got this crunched up core position. And so as we're desperately gasping for breath, we tend to start breathing from those upper ribs, and they're like lifting up and down. It's called accessory breathing, which, you know, when you're in your intervals, do whatever you need to do to get air in. But when you recover, it's really nice to use all of your lung volume again. So what I do is I really focus on taking deep, slow inhales, but not deep, slow inhale into my belly, but more a deep, slow inhale, filling up all of the back part of my lung. I should feel my rib cage expanding out to the sides and out to the back. So hopefully you can see that in the video. You can see how broad my rib cage gets. And so taking a few thoughtful breaths like that in my recovery really helps restore my breathing. Another trick for recovering your breathing is to take your inhales through your nose. Even if you can only do like 4 or 5 in a row, or maybe just count on every 4th inhale you take through your nose. But when you're taking breaths in through your nose, it triggers this neural response that's actually calming and reduces the sensation of discomfort. So those 2 tricks, making sure that I'm breathing deep and expanding all of my rib cage, and that I'm taking my inhales through my nose and exhales through my mouth, or it can be through your nose. But the real key benefit is the inhale in the knees. It really helps get my respirations recovered, so I'm ready to go for the next interval. Step 3, get in some hydration and nutrition. I keep snacks super handy. I like to keep a gel and some blocks handy, as well as 2 bottles, one with just water and another one with electrolytes in it. Step 4, cool your body down. What's cool is you have these special cells on the palms of your hands, the soles of your feet, and on your forehead that are really awesome. They're like super powered at dropping or putting up heat. So put the palms of your hands and your forehead in front of your fan and cool your body down. Step 5, mentally prepare for the next interval. So when I'm getting near the end of my recovery block, especially if I've gotten everything done, I feel like I'm in a good place, I'm nicely recovered, and I'm starting to get ready for my next interval, I really like to kind of set my mental space too. And I try to do that all the time before I roll into the next interval, but it's especially important when I get to those last intervals, or if I'm having one of those kind of struggle bus days on the intervals where I'm getting the work done, but I'm having to dig pretty deep to it. I set my mind right. And I do that generally in one of two ways. The first way is I go back to some of the mantras, or just reminding myself from the goals that I set at the beginning of the season why I'm doing this. What are the things that are motivating for me? And I generally have a whole bunch of little mantras that I can revert back to. And I'll just pick one or two of those and just remind myself, this is why I'm doing this. This is why I'm putting in the hard work. This is what motivates me. So that's right in my mind as I roll into the next however many minutes of hard work. The other thing I'll do, and I'll do this particularly when I'm at like those last two intervals that are super hard, is I will think of a race situation that I've been in, or maybe a fantasy race situation that I'm in, and pretend like I'm in that moment for the interval. So if I'm doing like a VO2, like a 2-minute VO2, and it's coming into the last ones, I'll put myself into a race when I know that I'm rolling into near the end of a climb and I want to get in position for the last descent. Like, I will mentally put myself in that go attack mode, catching this rider, passing the rider, holding my position, and getting to the downhill single track first. Might be the mental game I set myself up for this interval. Or it might be that I'm in a pace line in my head and I know that everyone's hurting, but I just have to hang on the wheel because everybody's hurting. And if I can just stay on the pace, stay on the wheel, the pace is going to slow. I just have to hold on for that little bit more. So those are like two examples of just some race situations that I will mentally prepare myself for and kind of enact in my mind as I get through those last tough intervals. And I find them super motivating. And then also when I find myself in those situations on race day, like, I know what those sensations feel like. So anyways, I hope all these recovery tricks work for you. Experiment with them. Some are going to work really well. Some of them you're going to be like, nope. And you might even come up with your own. If you do, share them with me. I can always use more help. So anyways, happy training. Thanks for watching. I hope this helps you get more out of your interval sessions. And let me know what I can share with you next.